boxing best judge here. I think, you know what I don't like? I don't like the scam, the sham, and the disrespect that the ones who are in the boxing community, from the promoters, managers, networks, fighters themselves, I've noticed this trend, like they just have zero respect for the people who are keeping the lights on for them. And it's unfortunate, man. Boxing is such a beautiful sport. And I had even went back and forth on whether I wanted to like create a channel or something like this to participate in the sport, because you know, on one hand, you don't want to have to always be talking about the politics of it and the things that are wrong with the sport, because it's so beautiful. And just like hip-hop, there's definitely enough material out there that if we don't want to, if us old school heads, if we don't want to listen to anything from, let's say, 2005 down, oh my God, we still have so many options. Like, it's enough options to last a lifetime. With boxing, it's almost the same. Not in a sense where, you know, we can just bump classic albums, because we love to see the live fights. You understand? We all pay big money for the live fights. You know, we waited 5 years for Pacquiao and Mayweather, and then at the last minute they threw that $100 bill on that joint. And you know what? We paid that shit because we love the sport and we support the great athletes and the great sweet science that this is. The art form of the sweet science of boxing, man. We pay for it. We'll pay for it time and time again. And the only thing we ask in return is that we get a quality product in return. And you know, it took us a bit to recover from that bullshit we know as Mayweather and Pacquiao. There was some really great fights that if they happened before Manny Pacquiao Mayweather, the numbers would have been so much more better, and they would have been so much more anticipated. But when we waited the whole 5-6 years for Mayweather and Pacquiao, and then the fight turned out to be a dud and it was overpriced, and Pacquiao's automatically complaining about his shoulder. Then you hear these little rumors about, you know, shit with Mayweather. And then it just kind of left a bad taste in the mouth of us boxing fans, because we care about this sport. Like, this sport is more than 100 years old. We've had some legends and people that we all, and it all goes back to the drama of understanding these fighters' backgrounds. See, HBO, man, let me take you guys on a little bit of a ride. Hopefully it won't take too long, but HBO was masterful when they started airing boxing on their network, because they wasn't just airing the fights. The main event guys, they would have little segments talking about their lives and the things that they've been through, their trials and the tribulations, and what turned them on to the sport of boxing. And a funny thing about the law back then, I would see in different segments on different fighters, the law was crazy. You know, sometimes when you're young and you're a knucklehead and you keep getting in trouble, they'll throw your ass in jail. But back then, the judges, and I guess depending on where you lived in certain parts of the country, they was a little bit more creative with the young folks when they kept getting in and out of trouble. They said, look, you of age right now, you either gonna take your ass to the army or you're gonna go to the boxing gym. A lot of fighters came out of that little program, that system. I don't even know what it was, and I think maybe it was the judge probably just trying to get some, you know what I'm saying, like, you know, get his ass whooped. Maybe there was real knuckleheads back in the day. We all was there. We know. But those are some of the types of stories that brought us into the sport, because we got attached to these people, not just from watching them beat the hell out of each other on TV, but we got something from their backgrounds, right? And it drew us into them on like an emotional level. So we felt the way about these guys. And then when they got in there and they fought, if they fought their ass off and won, that made our emotions for them, our love for them increase to the point where now we remember them because we have this emotional attachment to it, this mental thing that's going on that HBO was a genius at doing. And every time that fighter would be on HBO, guess who'd be there? We would, because we remember from the last time. And they almost always had a brand new segment if they started coming back, the fighters started coming back multiple times. So you really got a chance to know these people. They've done the same thing. But right now, it's a bit outdated, and the system, even though it was political back then, they still got the fights done. I think it took about 4 to 5 years for the whole Sugar Ray Leonard Hagler thing to finally unfold, looking at the fact that Leonard retired, unretired, and then came back for Hagler and all that. It didn't take that long for Hearns and Leonard, or Duran and Leonard, because they were all young and they were all killers. And they were all, most of them were, if they were not all under the same promotion, like Top Rank, it wasn't hard for them to work with Don King back then. It wasn't hard for Bob Arum and Don King to work together back then, because they looked at the money. They say, how much would it cost? How much could we make if Duran fought Leonard? Even though Leonard might be a little bit young and Duran is a fucking legend. But Leonard is that good that if he has that good of a night on this night, him being young probably won't matter. Which it didn't. Turned out to be a classic. And it made both of their careers, it made the twilight of Duran's career great, and it brought up the mystique of Sugar Ray Leonard to the point where we all envision him fighting Marvelous Marvin Hagler, which coincidentally they both had their first title shots on the same day. Go back and look at that. Leonard fought Benitez, Hagler fought Vito Antuofermo. I think those were on the same, I think that was both Las Vegas, Nevada, same day. Leonard got a crazy amount. Hagler didn't get that much. I mean, they've always had that rivalry that went through their whole career. Much the same way as we have Terrence Crawford and Earl Spence. So, you know, Earl Spence, he's had his thing that we've all had this attraction towards him. We've watched him. He's given us some good excitement over the years. And Terrence Crawford is just an asshole who's given us some excitement over the years. We've watched their families. Like hell, Terrence Crawford got shot in the head and took himself to the damn hospital. I mean, this dude is crazy. Like, we wouldn't know this if boxing wasn't the drama that it is. And the networks understood how to capitalize on that drama. And it understood how to drag us in as the fans, bring us in, because we watch these guys fight in these individual fights till they start beating the hell out of all these other people until it's only them two left. And then we have this outrageous pay-per-view, which back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, when you had those big pay-per-views, those big closed circuit events, those fights were good because they were all killers and they were all so arrogant and had such big egos that they didn't want to share the stage with anybody. So if you said that Leonard was bigger than Duran to Duran, well, he's going to say, well, you bring Leonard to me and let me bust his ass and we'll see. Same thing with Hagler and Hearns. Same thing with Leonard and Hearns. The fighters, man. Nowadays, just they doing too much. They doing too much sniping on social media instead of fighting in the ring. Boxers these days, they got a lot of bitching, and the fans are the ones that's got to pay for that shit. So fuck you, Terrence Crawford, and fuck you, Earl Spence. I hope you guys lose your next fights.